Connected to you the second day of a brand new year, January, Monday, the second. It's this little after 5 o'clock in the evening here, and I thought that I would just connect with you today. It's a holiday for most, um, and I think that is more or less worldwide. That is, but or for most of the world, let us say, but because I've been given a task here, not by anyone that is close by or close to me, but it's just something that as I've been doing it for, let us say, over 2 years now, and almost every day it's become a part of my lifestyle for the time being until I might feel that I've done what I've been tasked to do. But the Lord has been good; He's given us strength. I trust and I hope that you've had a pleasant Christmas season. I trust also that you've had a blessed New Year celebration as well as service. You are rested. The world goes back to work. Let us say tomorrow. Some will go back later, and the world continues to do what the world has always continued to do: is to please itself. Uh, it's only, if you've noticed, it is only for one day, really, if at all, that they have remembered Jesus Christ, the Son of God. It is only for a period of time that the world has mentioned, if at all, that Jesus Christ was born. And I believe that. And it's a sad state of affairs when the reason why I would say at all why the world um, over the many years or eons. Well, it is said also. It is said that Christmas is a pagan festival, and especially it being on a day when, according to theological researchers and people who have studied deeply into the Christian life, that Christ was born in the month of April, not so much in December. So the festival and the festive things that we do in December, and which the world has been doing for centuries, if so long, really, yes, a few hundred years, I would say, anyway. Certainly, I've come along, and I've not known of Christmas being celebrated on any other day other than the 25th of December. And I would be presumptuous also to even say when our parents were born, and probably their parents before them, and such. So it's been a long time. It's been quite a few years that this world has been celebrating Christmas on the 25th of December. But some have gone way back to say that it is very much a pagan festival. So if so, the reason really of the birth of Christ, which if we did celebrate in April, I believe it is April, it wasn't any other day, then I think that's a good reason. I mean, it's not so much the day, but it's just to celebrate the time that came into this world, because the Bible does, to some extent, and did, well, the prophets did foretell of the birth of one who would come to save not only the nation of Israel, but mankind. So that's good and proper. I think that is good to celebrate. Um, but when we just do it for filthy lucre or for merchandise, just for one day, and then after that, that's it. Then I think there's something wrong with that. Even if we did it in April, there would be something wrong with it because we are not really. We wouldn't. The world would not really, genuinely be worshiping God and giving thanks unto the Lord. But for us as Christians, we should be giving thanks every day anyway. We should be rejoicing that He was born. We should be rejoicing that He came and that He died. And not only died and was buried, but He rose again. That is the hope of every Christian believer, born again. Someone who has really given their lives to God. One who has dedicated themselves to the Lord. And I believe that each and every one of us, because we are alive, and those who do hear me, and those again who have been had the opportunity to be here January the 2nd, 2023, I believe that we ought to give God thanks. Now, not everybody is the same. With me, if you look at me, then probably you really wonder if I'm happy or if I am, um, you know, overjoyed. Whereas some, they're very expressive in their, in their action, very expressive. It doesn't take much for them to show their joy. But I believe all of us should be joyful. All of us should be happy because the Lord has seen it fit. I believe that even the just as well as the unjust, even the sinner should be happy that he's alive to see today because God, the sinner will not acknowledge God. The sinner will not, will not give him any credit at all. He thinks he is the only one. He believes that he is it is by his strength, it is by his own will why he's in this world today and why he's alive, put it that way. But he's foolish because only a fool says that there is no God. That's what the Bible says. So the Lord reigns both on the unjust and on the just. And I think that knowing that we are here and we've been allowed to see another year, 60 years I've been alive. 60 years I've been a part of this world and the environments of the world. For 60 years I have been up and down here and there. I have enjoyed, I have had pleasure. And for 60 years and amongst all the pleasure, I've had my downs and outs. Um, uh, Made mistakes, paid, and probably still paying for them. But you know what? The Lord has given me great mercy. And I think that every one of us should be thankful and grateful for what He has done for us in allowing us to see 2023. Now, the crux and the point of this or of that is that we don't know if we're going to see tomorrow. Again, remember, every day is a new day. There's never a tomorrow because it is said that tomorrow is today. So we don't know if we're going to see next week or March or June or August or or December. We don't know if we're going to see the rest of the year. We just do not know. So we must it is important that we live the life to please God and that we live for Him and for Him only. Now, many of us, we may have our husbands or our wives. We may have your children, and part of the part of that life, really, is to say, is to live for them, and that may be right, and that may be so. But they've got to also understand that your life, their lives also belongs to God, belongs to the Lord, and they also have to live for the Lord. So, in our in our living, all of us, we must look to God, rest in Him, rest assured in His Word, and grow in grace. Be planted, be like that tree planted by the rivers of water, because we will bear fruit. We're going to bear fruit, whether we want that fruit or not. The point is, every tree has something that it gives. And even if we look on something and we think, well, what use is that tree or that shrub or that flower? Every flower, every shrub, every tree has its use in the environment. Every living thing has its use. And whether, I mean, there's some things, that we can't eat. There's some mushrooms that we as human beings cannot eat. Why? Because they are poisonous. But yet in the environment, in the world in which it was placed, it has its use. Now I'm not a botanist. I cannot tell you anything about shrubs or flowers or trees. And I don't know what the use is of that particular mushrooms may have. However, what I am told is that there are some mushrooms that are good for human consumption. There are some that are not good. But yet, in the environment in which it is in, there is a use for that mushroom. It is not poisonous to some. It may not be poisonous to some animals. It certainly isn't poisonous to the environment in which it is in. It has its use. So every one of us, we have our use. Every one of us, we have and we bear a fruit. We have a talent. We have something that will aid and enhance something. But it is what we do that will give that will give blessing to those who are around. Every individual, even those that we think are useless. Now, it's not that we must judge each other and say we're useless, some are useless and some are not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that each and every one of us we have, but there's some of us who, because we are not, and we haven't really given ourselves over to the Lord, and so we damage ourselves and we damage others. We're not, we're not in, we are not in that place where we should be. And so, you know, I just want to encourage all those, my friends, my colleagues, those whom I don't know. Just want to encourage you for this time, for this year. This is a brand new year. Let us all, including myself, let us all make that commitment and that promise to the Lord, not to anybody, not to any one of us as such, or not to our husbands or to our wives. Well, let's make that promise to God that we will do what we must and that we will live for Him. Comes what may, and things are going to get difficult. Things are going to become, I believe, harder for us. And you may say, well, how much more harder? In what way? I don't know. I think that wherever we are in different environments. We may be in different cities, different countries, different towns. Wherever you may be, your world is completely different from mine. Even though we're living in the same world, the things that if We know, for example, that there are people in the Ukraine, they're under extreme pressure at this time. Some have been bombed out of house and home. Some don't have a job anymore to go to. Business is completely wiped out. They're refugees now in their own countries, some of them. So whatever they're having to face today, you and I, we don't have to face that. We are in much better situation right now than them. And our hearts, I'm sure our hearts, my heart goes out to them, because it was something, if there was anything that I could do to help some, I would try to do whatever I could. But for some of us, the resources are very limited, extremely limited to do what is needed to be done, because life is being lost, extinguished like a candle. For sometimes it will seem for little and nothing. It's just very sad. But the world still goes, and you're still alive. I am still alive. In as much as we are having the difficulties and we're having to face and deal with our own difficulties, there's some who's in a much, much worse situation. And so we need to give ourselves to the Lord, asking Him to guide and to direct our path. We've been looking at Revelation chapter 13, verses 11 through to 18, and we've begun to look at the second beast. John says that he beheld another beast um, coming out of the earth. It's not rising out of the waters anymore, but it's still out of the earth amongst the people. Words do bring a certain amount of pictures, doesn't it? Earlier on, it was that out of the sea, I stood up on the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise out of the sea. That's verse 1 of the same chapter. And waters and seas, they do show, and it is really meant, once it's coming out of the Bible, it's speaking of people, nations, languages. If I can just, let me see if I can, if I can refer to a particular verse of scripture. It's within, it's within Revelation, but I'll bring it another time. I'll refer to that another time. I think it's within Revelation 17. However, let me read verses 11 and 12 and probably 13. But we're going